So hello YouTube, we should be live again with Szymon, and I will play some music again. Okay, let me check if everything is good. Okay. So we had a discussion with Szymon before the stream, so I will just jump into the code, so I can kind of first probably show you what I'm seeing. This one. Yep. And so what I done pretty much after previous stream, it turned out that Szymon already made the abstractions over the parsers basically, so I kinda made them again. So I removed my code and I tried to build the solution using the way that he intended it to be built basically. So what we want to do now is I would like to kind of work with Szymon on how on if it's built the correct way or something should be changed. So pretty much from the top, what I have done is I noticed that you are using the factory here for building the orchestrator, right? So what I used or what I've done is you're missing here the sources. So essentially what I need to do is I need some way to inject you the enumerable of model sources, so you're able to call the get model on them, more or less.
Yes.
So this is what I have done. So going into the too many folders. Going into the maybe into the interface first. So or maybe go to definition. So you are basically, there is basically an interface of iModel source that has get model method, and as you can see here already on the implementations, I basically created two. So I've created one for reading it from the file and for reading it from the internet, and this is something that I want to discuss later on, why I made it the previous way, the way I made it is because in the factory here you think that we'll have multiple sources, And I was thinking that there will be only one source. Why are you? Why do you, like? Why do should we consider that there are multiple sources for the definitions?
Yes, because I thought maybe we want to, get mm, definitions from different sources, for example, multiple files. But I realized that maybe we can just load multiple files in one model source. Yeah, maybe it's not necessary here, but yeah, I thought maybe some things we can get even from the internet, some from the files, and I thought maybe we want to get definitions from multiple sources. That's why I created an enumerable source. But yeah, maybe we can also just have one iModel source, inject only one model source, and maybe it will be easier. But then we need to probably create, some mechanism to merge these definition files in one model source.
But this is already kind of what you're doing. Even if there are multiple sources, then it would load it into a single collection, right? So it's
Yes.
already merged. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm doubtful when it comes to just idea of having multiple sources, because for creating this ledger, because that would kind of mean that there is a possibility that you might have two sources of truth. What if someone, overwrites or creates the same transaction, with the
Mm-hmm.
same name, for example, right? Or something like that. So
Yes, but it can also be the case only for one source of truth. I mean, one
that's
source
true.
of truth can, you know, override things that are wrote before. But yes, I think this right that there is no, for example, validation in building models that we have to the same um, for example, queues, yes,
But
to the same steps, and so now it's not perfect,
mhm.
and yeah, it should be considered when you are creating this iModel source. I mean, when you getting the definition.
I just
So
I just added it into the backlog,
okay.
basically, that we can create such validators. But again, looking at it from the different perspective, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
would be planning on creating a file with the transactions, would you split it to multiple files, or would you keep it in one file? Because when I was looking at it from this perspective, I always
Mm-hmm.
thought that I always intended that we are having just one source, basically, right? So I was
But
curious. I was curious what was driving you, that you in contrary figured out that we may have multiple files.
if there are a lot of transactions with multiple steps, I think the most comfortable way is split into the multiple files.
So you would have multiple smaller files with less amount of
I
lines,
think
basically.
we should provide this possibility
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because yeah, it's for me it would be very uh, very comfortable situation when I can just put some files in one directory and I can review each file, and one file is, for example, one definition of transaction, or maybe one definition from or maybe definitions from I don't know, one service or something like that. I mean, I think I believe it would be helpful to have multiple files when there is a lot
Excuse
of
me for a
transactions.
second, but I need to pick this up.
Okay.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, sorry.
Mhm.
I'm back, but so you were saying about that we still have the need for multiple sources, and I'm okay.
I mean, multiple files, but maybe we can read multiple files from one source. So still we can replace this enumerable iModel source
Multiple
to just
files from
iModel
one
source.
source. That's actually true. Yes, we can do that.
Mhm.
Multiple files from one source. Well,
Yeah,
from
because
my
we don't
perspective,
want to. Mhm.
from my perspective, I don't like. I'm not distinguishing files from the source. Let's say so. A source
Mhm.
is a single file. Always.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I mean, iModel source is like abstraction in this case, that there are model somewhere, maybe in one place, maybe multiple places, and I'm just getting it for the SAGA orchestrator. So mm, and I think we can just go with one iModel source that read multiple files. I think it's a better idea, because we don't need to uh, mess up with these builders and so on uh, in this factory. I mean, this factory then will be only for reading model from iModel source, or maybe we should say transaction ledger, um, and then pass it into the SAGA orchestrator. And this is the next question. Maybe we should name it transaction ledger source.
Probably, but
Mhm.
like I would, we can rename it, but I would go to like to discuss the particular implementation. We can change this later. Because I basically wanted to show you what I've done using your abstractions and then discuss probably the builder that I shown you before, because I think that this is the only part that I'm missing in my head. What is this used for? Because I didn't really find, like, apart from the tests, why is this used? But as I said, I created the two parsers. Basically, I see that I should probably remove those. That are implementing iModel source, and then going back to the builder, you are calling the get model on them, and you're getting them from the sources basically. So I thought, okay, I need to, as you are very fond of working with dependency injection, I basically need to figure out a way to register all those things. So I've created an extension method somewhere here. Where? Here. I've created an extensions that are of course registering the parsers. I've created a more or less a strategy pattern. That we have a dictionary in which we have based on the enum that we have for the configuration source. Probably the naming should be better, but we have network and a file, and we have the ledger from the internet and from the file, and then we are registering the options, and the options are used for getting the configuration. Yeah, and we basically have the model source factory that I yet didn't show you, which is used in the next one to generate in the end what we actually want to get, because what we want to get in your factory is IEnumerable that I told you about before the stream. So essentially, to implement your layer of abstraction is we need the IEnumerable, hard word, and implementing those interfaces. So extensions again. We have the factory. The factory is pretty simple. We are building the sources. Wait a second. Maybe I mixed something here. No, actually not. It's fine, because we are getting from the options, we are getting the configurations, then we are getting the dictionary, the full dictionary from here, that we have our implementations here. Maybe I will pin you up here. And we are basically iterating over the configurations and adding the sources that we want. So in the end, what we are doing in our extension through the factory, when it's building, we are able to get all the list of the enumerables, so all the sources that we have registered in the configuration, and then later we are able to basically get all the models that we want, because you have the builder here that has the from method that's actually awaiting every models to be read from the from those files that are somewhere on the hard drive or over the internet. What I would do is I would probably, again, because I don't understand the from method.
I mean, it's merged SAGA model to the existing transactions.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
SAGA
yeah. But I would
Mhm.
just like, when because I was reading it from here, right? So I have some kind of builder, I have models. Then from sources, I am getting the models. That's pretty clear. And then from models, I'm doing builder from, and I'm like builder from builder from model. I'm like, maybe I didn't, like, I was not really. I didn't really understand what this from method is doing.
Okay.
So maybe that would require a renaming. So, and then we have the orchestrator, and it's all fine. That's okay. And up till this point is what I done more or less what you have thought that it should be done like.
Okay. So, let me. Okay. So, first thing about your code is that can you go to the registration of those services?
Yep.
Yeah. So every reader, JSON from file transaction reader and this internet
That
is
should
a
be transient.
singleton.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because we just agreed that we can make.
Yes, but we still need a discussion about if we want to inject one model source, because I'm not sure we decided that we want one iModel source or multiple iModel sources.
I thought what you're saying.
I said
I mean,
that we can read multiple files, but in one model source. So it's okay or not?
I wouldn't go in that direction.
Okay, so multiple models.
No. Either we are doing multiple sources and then like. No. No, I would do if we want to read from multiple files, for example, from the hard drive, whatever, doesn't really matter. Then we are creating one configuration, same configuration with different URI, same configuration with different URI.
Yes.
More like that.
Okay. So add transient will not help you, because you need somehow pass the data about what file you want to process or what site you want to call, and how you can do it. Maybe by the constructor, but if you have multiple files, how you will know what file you want to read in your transient reader?
Well, yeah, you're right. This is what I forgot about. I forgot about it. You can see string empty.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I was thinking about that and I'm like, okay, string empty, and I will think about this later. So this is something that I forgot about.
And yeah, and
then I would probably change the this get model to provide the URI always when it's, because we will always need the source or not. We will always need some kind of path, something.
Yes, probably path, and in case other sources, it could be also more information like headers and something like that. I rather would inject this information through the constructor, and it means that we rather will not register these readers into the dependency injection. Rather, like you create some instances related to the
You want to inject
specific files,
you want to
and
create them
then
with the
this
options.
instance, yes, and these instances that ready instances you are registering as a collection of the iModel sources.
Yeah.
Even not option, it would be, oh yes, reader configuration, exactly.
Well,
Yeah, and this has a single URI, yes? URI. Let me show the reader.
yeah, it has
so yeah,
source and URI, yeah, and then then you would you don't want to do it, yeah, because this is pointless because we have multiple configurations.
And this iModel source factory can do this job. I mean, to create this yes, here. And this dictionary will be, I think, useless here.
No, because you okay. Wait,
there is one
because
thing
I'm thinking about this now. So, okay, maybe I'll ask then. How would you want to do it? Because what I'm thinking about now would be only service locator, which is an anti-pattern in modern approach. So
service locator. What do you mean?
Doesn't matter. I will tell you if you will go there, but then you don't want to have the dictionary.
Yes,
With the
I
sources.
just want to create sources. I mean, by a constructor here, depending on what configuration is. I mean, model source type. So in the build, yeah, you can remove this dictionary. Yeah, and now you can and this for which can be helpful, I think. But yeah. And for each configuration, we want to create appropriate model source. It can be switch case or if.
I don't like this, but okay, let's go. I will.
Okay.
I will look. I will look at. We will look at it later on and think about this. So you would like to switch the configuration.
I mean configuration dot type. I don't remember.
Yes, dot source.
Source. In case. Yeah, for example. Yeah, and in the network you can result go to the statement result dot
I mean,
add.
I know, but like I don't like this solution.
Okay, so
I feel like this is
why?
this is not very flexible.
Not very flexible. You know, if you want to
Let me have a second about, because I don't really like to make those if kind of statements when we are building like building objects, because now what we are doing now is like I noticed that you're always trying to leave everything to dependency injection in terms of creating an object, and this is a good practice because in the end we are using dependency injection to use the inversion of control and to let it create all the objects for us. And so that means that we are able to test later on, do tests later on with mocks, etc., because we have everything abstracted away through the interfaces, etc., right? So we are able to like to create those objects. But now, then in here, we want to basically do something like new, create, like new, and this parser JSON from file, blah, 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 and to pass the specific configuration there. And
yes, but you don't need, you know, create everything in dependency injection. I think in this case we have
I want to
factory.
remind you that previously you were telling me that I can or should pass through the constructor, for example, HTTP client.
Yes, yeah, but because this is you know the previously it was the HTTP client factory. Before HTTP client was not adjusted to be injected.
It was not because it was securing ports.
Yes, and but yeah, it's related to the ports, and that's why I suggested to inject the HTTP client here. We can somehow maybe register it into our dependency injection, but right now I don't have better solution, and maybe we can discuss about it.
Well, look, if we are pushing everything in here, right? Like, if we are focusing on trying to put everything in here, like we can literally move this code in here. Like we can move this code into the parser extensions, and we can make the DI resolve our dependencies for us here. Like no problem, because we are the same way we are able to get the model sources. We are able to do those loops. And also what we are able to do, like instead of having here new JSON parser, blah, 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 we can basically do provider dot get required service and make it create the object with this specific configuration. And I would lean more towards this way, I think.
Yes, we can move it to the extension. It's also a good idea, I think. So you want to move this for each to the extension and register appropriate extension, appropriate iModel sources to the service collection. Yeah, that's right. This is a good way. Or maybe you were a different idea and I didn't understand you.
No, it's that's exactly what I want to do. I'm just thinking about this now.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, because we are doing this right here, but in the class factory,
but I want to.
which is injected, and it's not good. I mean, we can inject this model source factory somewhere, and maybe it's not a good behavior. I agree.
This is what I basically. This is the only line that I want to avoid. So I don't want, like, I know it's called a factory, but if we are using DI, we can actually create this factory inside the DI.
Okay. I agree with you. I considered this implementation, so maybe we can write it now.
Yeah. So okay.
We need an option.
Wait, what option?
In to get the configurations here.
Yeah.
So we need to get this from the provider.
I was thinking about something else.
Okay.
Oh, no, this one. So we are basically copy pasting this.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I? Because this is not saved, and I'm always looking at it. We can pretty much copy it, like entire code from here.
Or we can use yield, maybe, if you like, to not creating this result.
Does it run the code up front when it's registering the modules? Or not?
I think if you request the no here yield, I mean yield, you can yield in the cases. And
I thought
if you request.
So what would you like to yield?
Here it will be JSON network parser, and below it will be JSON file parser.
But
No.
because what we are doing here is we are also adding this to results here, right?
Yes. So we can, add it to result, and then you have this list, and that's okay. Or you can yield the new instance, and then you don't need this list.
Okay, how this should be done? Because
okay, instead of remove this return result, I think it should be first step, and then instead of result.add, go in with the yield return and new and this will be I don't remember, it was JSON from file.
yeah, but will yield add this to the result?
No, yield will but statement cannot be used inside an anonymous lambda expression. So never mind. You can't use the yield. Never mind. Go with the result. Yield basically transforms your method to the machine state, and this work like a generator. It will.
Isn't it like lazy loading on a database with the lists that it will run the code or return you the piece of code when you really need it with the yield?
It will return next yield if you request, if you get the enumerable from this method, and get the enumerator, and you go with next. Maybe I will show you later because it's not important right now.
I need to check how to do this in this dependency injection because I have no idea how to do it in here.
But
I mean,
what do you want?
I want to pass this specific configuration. So I want to net core di create object with parameters. Oh.
So you still want to register those sources, yes? There is no way to, create, get the service from the service provider with the parameters.
We could create this with reflection. We could actually create it. Okay, so would the only solution be this?
Yes, I think yes. But then this is better than previous solution, because you don't need this factory that can be injected somewhere else.
I'm missing the keys. JSON. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And those first two lines of registration of JSON from file and JSON from internet can also be removed. This dictionary is not needed anymore.
Yep. Only configuration
So,
in the factory.
So it's much more simpler right now.
Do I like it? Probably. It's just in one place.
I mean, I don't know how it can be do better right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I'm thinking about about creating those objects based on configurations, and then if it would be possible to register them that way.
No, it's not possible.
I don't really. It would be simpler if we would have just one source, because then it wouldn't be an issue, because we would be able to, like, we wouldn't need the switch statement basically. And I'm trying to figure out a way of removing the switch statement with some kind of code composition. But from the top of my head,
Maybe you want to create the next layer of abstraction to have, iModel source, one iModel source, and this one iModel source will get will get all the models from somewhere.
Okay, let's leave it. If we don't really see a solution, then either way, we just removed a lot of code and put it into what, like 17 lines. So I think that's pretty okay.
It's pretty okay. It's not very flexible. I mean, if we want to create new,
it's not. But now, you know, now I've been actually, this is what I was thinking about, that I don't really come up quickly with a solution to, like, if we are adding something new, like we will always need the knowledge about, like, we will need to add, what's the difference if we need to add a case statement here, or we need to add a line into a dictionary and to registry.
I mean,
that's, you know, that's what I'm like having in my head currently, that what's the difference if we would be adding a new parser, then we need to add a new enum and we need to add a new case here to be able to register it later on.
Okay, I have one idea, I think. Okay, let's. This idea is like we have one model source, or maybe we should name it differently. But this model source. Oh my God, I don't want to have a conflict with names. Let's say differently. What can be? Let's say let's say we have one SAGA model factory. I know it's not the perfect name, but for now, let's say one SAGA model factory, and this will have a different iSAGA model source. I mean, inside of it, it will have injected multiple iModel sources, and each iModel source will have the property with the source type, and then we we need even more abstraction. I mean, I have idea right now. It would be a little bit complex to describe it right now. So
I mean, you know what would be the most flexible the most flexible solution here would probably be to register it with, because you are, again, from what I understand from what you're saying, is that once again we are creating the variables, or we are creating, we are kind of still around creating some properties or creating some kind of if statements. And what if in the configuration, instead of type like enum, we would just have the name of the parser, and then with the reflection we would be able to create particular objects with activate, and then pass the configuration into it. And then we don't really need those. We don't really need this switch statement, because what we would do is we would just with reflection create those types and add them to list. So we would just have one liner basically. We would add.
I mean, I thought about the iModel source factory, let's say, and iModel source factory will have two things. One, it will be source with source type, so it's the factory for this specific source type, and then you will have a method with, for example, get iSource model, and then here, instead of creating by new, you can get the appropriate factory and invoke the create with the configuration.
But that's the
Yeah,
same as the dictionary, man.
it's it's
Kind of the
yeah
same as the dictionary, but you have multiple files.
yeah, but I mean yes, and but it would be easier to inject new factory. I mean, it would be probably more flexible, but maybe it's
But look,
too
then
much
it will
complex.
then it would
It's
exactly that would like what you're
mhm.
proposing would add complexity because it would
Yes.
be like
So
what we
that's why
done.
I realized that it's too complex. That's why I think this is good enough for now. If
But
we need
really,
to more complex, yeah.
sorry for interrupting, but like literally, what if in the configuration we would have instead of type, we would do something like whoop, no, no, no. Mm. I don't remember how to do that. I need to check over the internet. Oh,
But
and then you
what?
were either way you were seeing the Chrome, but the doesn't really matter. Okay. Mm.
Oh no.
Why not?
I mean, yeah, we can go with the reflection maybe.
From my perspective, this is literally the easiest way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the most flexible one. Like this isn't causing any issues in terms of
Okay, so please show me
this
what you
will
want to do
happen
because.
only once, literally during the
Mm-hmm.
registration, and the registration is happening where the module is registered, so at the start of the application. This is a singleton. The code will be run only once.
Okay.
I don't really
But
see.
okay, I understand. I mean, I don't understand what you want to do, so please show me, and because maybe you want to uh, get all the implementation of the interfaces and register them or
No,
something like that.
no. Mm, uh,
Okay.
mm, this Java. what I want to do is basically we don't need to register anything like that, because what we will do is we will create the parser with the specific configuration via the reflection and just add it to list. And we basically doing it that way allows us to basically add any type of parser. Like literally we won't have to do anything around expanding this code if you create a new parser, because with this solution you will need to add those cases here every time you add a parser, and you will need to add an enum. And by doing it that way, where you have just parser type, we will be able to create those objects via the reflection, pass the appropriate configuration, and add it to list. So in the configuration, you only need to be aware of the class name. And you are able to register any type of parser that will be ever created, always. So that's and I'm also again not displaying this, but this is what I've done. I've copied some code.
Okay, so you need to pass the type.
I need to pass the type into the constructor, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
Okay, so let's think about the our system. Client want to create set up our program to reading a files. So you need to somehow point out that we want to read some files. How we can achieve that? We need to I don't know how to get this, from what we want to get this type in configuration. This in this option. It has to be in the configuration. So how you want to set this parser type as a client?
In the configuration, like in the configuration of the app, of the running app, in the app settings.
I'm setting .json.
Yeah.
So how you will inject the type from upsetting.json?
Like I'm just doing right now. I will have a string. I will have a string with the name of the type.
Okay.
I will get the type via the name, and I will create it.
Okay. Okay. Now so parser type is a string, yes? Yes, parser is now okay. Now I see parser type is string. Okay, now I think I understand what you want to.
This is a bit. This is a bit unsafe. Why is it? This is very annoying. So to name it correctly, that would be the parser. And what we want to do is we want to do result.add parser.
Need to cast this.
Yeah. And we want to cast it into model source. or we might do it like that. No, you won't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. More sense.
Yeah, I mean it's very flexible. Not so clear, but I understand it. I think.
I mean, I can go once again. So imagine that we have, like, apart from just having this particular parser that we are having the JSON. So they have their specific names, right? From file or from transaction, and we might have multiple different parsers. And if we would go the previous way, if we would like to add another parser, then we would need to create an enum, and we would need to create those switch statements. What is happening now? We have the name of the object inside the configuration as a string. So we literally will have a configuration reader configuration. This parser type string will be set to.
So we no longer want source from.
No, we do need source.
Okay.
We don't need an enum. We will set this this value, the parser type, to this value, so like to the class name.
And the namespace, probably. We need to also provide the namespace.
That's exactly what I'm figuring now in my head. If we will need the which assemblies will it scan? And this is exactly what I'm thinking about in my head now, but let's leave it for a second. So we will need the name of the class, and as you said, probably we will need this namespace, so it knows which assembly to scan or where to get it from. But that way we are able to add multiple different parsers, and every time we will just get the parser type, and via the reflection we'll be able to create a specific object with the correct configuration and add it to our results enumerable, and be able to call your code to get those data. And we don't need to add anything, just the configuration on the client end needs to be switched to appropriate class name, basically, and probably the namespace. I'm just wondering, do you like
I mean, I don't like that we need to pass the probably whole name. In some systems like Mediator, it's like you provide the assemblies that contains some interfaces and some types. So here we probably want to go with similar solution. I mean,
but it's different from what we. If you are talking about the relation in which we made the CQRS library, then that is kind of different situation, because we expect to have the comments specific for each area, so for the domain, and we want to register a specific module for this specific area. Like, at least that's what I had in my head, that we have a specific module to be registered, and we can pass the assembly there, so it's not scanning the whole app. Or like,
Yeah, but here you want to have the type from you don't know where. You have the parser type. I mean, I can write my own parser, and for example, and I need somehow, you know, want to have a possibility to write my own parser, for example, and then
yeah.
I need to somehow point out that my parser is in this assembly, because maybe I will not have the.
But you're then putting the fully qualified name in here, in the parser type. So I don't like. We might need to test this, but I doubt that you will need to pass the assembly info inside here. I think that it will scan.
I mean, if DLL is loaded to application, yeah? Because if we just place the DLL next to something, it will not be searched, I think.
Yeah, you see? So that's fine.
Okay, assembly name.
You will need basically the fully qualified name, and it will work.
Okay. So we will provide this possibility, or
I assume that's the default. That's the default for registering the parsers. So that's the most flexible way. That way, when you are creating your own parser, you're just supposed to pass the qualified name of the assembly, and that's it, and it works right away.
Okay.
So that's
I mean,
that's as low amount of work that you need to put as you can. That you literally just put the configuration on with the correct qualified name and URI, and you're done. You don't need to add any switches, nothing. You're just putting the qualified name there, and that's it.
Okay.
I will let it sink into you. I wanted to ask one more question because we have more or less 30 minutes, probably less. I wanted you to explain to me the model builder? No. I was looking at something. Yeah, I think this add transaction thing was kind of
Mm-hmm.
bothering me. Uh, because this one is actually used in the factory, right? It's awaiting the
Right.
model, it's adding the range of transaction, etc., and it's fine. Uh, and the build is just doing to list. That's fine. And I was like, what the hell this one is doing? Like, I
Open the
understand that
test.
is
Uh-huh.
this the only like is this the only place that you're able to add transaction manually, like, or not from a ledger, but from like, is this made especially for the tests to be able to set the mocks or something like that? Like,
This is the convenient way to create a model builder. It can also be uh, mm, used in tests or in the model source, for example, in memory source that the client can just create the model source in the fluent way. Yeah, so that's why I created this model builder, and that's why I placed it here, not into the test, because I think it's
but this is
small
specifically
and
for the tests then.
no, I think it can be used outside the test. That's why I placed it. I mean, it's as I said, you can create models, iModel source that use this fluent notation to create the SAGA model.
And I'm again streaming the wrong things. Because I'm not streaming I'm shuffling the windows. We are looking at going back. Where was it? Uh, it was the model builder.
Model builder, yes.
And we are looking at this method.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, going to the test.
As you can see, there is a builder that you can add transaction. For each transaction, you can add step.
Okay, so that would be just another way of adding transaction instead of this one.
Yes. So it's not specifically for
Alright.
the test.
Alright,
It's
alright,
right
alright.
now
I see.
it's
Okay. I
used
mean,
for test.
currently it is for tests. Let's be honest, but
Yes.
it's okay, I guess. Yeah. Well, I don't think that I have any more questions for you, or I don't really have anything else to say. I will. What I will do now is I want to remove the enum. We won't be needing it.
Yeah, maybe we should also consider some sort of mapping to not have this complex long names of parsers. I mean,
I literally knew that you will ask this. I knew it. Because that's I also have had this go through my mind that we could have a constant, like we could have a class that would have constants, and those constants would have the fully qualified names.
I mean,
or you're speaking
maybe
about something different?
I thought about, some service that would map, the let's say aliases to the fully qualified names, and if
You don't
you
see that
know,
I'm shaking head, but I wouldn't do it this way
okay,
because I will give you just one example. I mean, I will show you, but I cannot really show proprietary code on the stream. But
okay,
check how in entity framework, for example, you're loading different database providers, I think those are called, or something like that, that you need to switch to the qualified names for the PGSQL, for the Oracle and stuff like that, and you are pushing the qualified names there for those configurations. So I wouldn't say that putting a qualified name inside the configuration would be a bad practice, or like, this is too much to write, because this is how this is happening for entity framework, for example, loading the appropriate provider, at least in the older framework. I mean 4.8.
in the latest framework I haven't seen such practice,
because in the newest framework, what you're doing is that you are using fluent configuration inside the startup to point to the specific provider. In older versions of .NET, you have XML in 4.8,
and I would opt for it. How it's like right now in the entity framework, in the fluent way.
Yes, but the problem is that
if entity framework did that, we probably can do that also with the extensions. For example, I know.
But then the configuration is okay. That's true. We could do that, but then the configuration is not in the.
I think it's not the same situation, maybe, but
No. It is the same. It is the same. We could do it like that. I mean, because now I was looking at it from the perspective of having the like.
I mean,
what I try to, because it's that depends on the way that you're looking at things. I'm looking at what we are doing here, that when someone will use the library, they are only supposed to configure something in JSON, and they don't really need to put up any code into running this code, basically.
Yes.
So they don't need to do any fluent configurations or nothing inside the code. What they are supposed to do is just call for example, services.add SAGA or some, and that's it, literally, and they are just adding the configurations inside the files. And we, of course, if we would be supposed to make it in this entity framework way, then we would need to do, for example, something like add SAGA like as an extension, and then inside the extension you can provide different parameters, so you can load different things, and in that way we would move the configuration from the JSON, like from the app settings, we would move it to the code. I don't want to do it. I think like that's viable also, but I just wanted this to be as lightweight as possible from from the perspective of writing code.
Yes, but I'm afraid that it will. I mean, you don't have the possibility to set the SQL provider from the upsetting JSON, and we won't do such thing. I mean, specify the provider from the configuration, from the file. And this is the difference here, because about the use SQL server is always in the code, not in the config file. That's why I think it's not the same situation.
I mean, yes, it is now in the modern version. That's true. I agree. That's why I started thinking about this. But now, like, I'm not like I already agreed that this is what is happening in the modern framework. Like, no doubt about it. That's fine. It's okay.
Okay.
Like what I've been saying through the past 3 minutes is about if we want to keep the configuration in the JSON for the library that we are creating, or we want to allow user to have the fluent configurations inside the code, or instead of just doing something like add SAGA and then having the configuration inside the JSON. I mean, from like also we can make somewhere in the future there can be two options for that, but like I'm thinking about now like different solutions, for example like loggers are also using the configuration that you are setting up in the JSON, for example. Look, let's agree that for now we try to, like, when we are thinking of creating something of the future, we will look from the perspective of putting the configurations inside the JSONs for now. We can use, of course, the fluent way of configuring things inside the library, but let's keep it as lean as possible, at least for now, in the perspective of adding code from the perspective of user using the library. The user using the library is supposed to just have services.addSaga and put the configuration in the JSON. That's it, period. So if they make any changes, they don't need to make another deployment of the app itself. They need to just swap the app settings or something and restart the app. That's it. So let's think from this perspective for now, and let's keep it.
I think we can go with this solution, and if we want to change in the future, I think it will not be the problem here. We have the sources, we have the parsers, and we just need to consider different thing of a different way of registering things and so on. So yeah. Because this discussion is
I mean, the discussions might never end, essentially. That's also what programming is about. But like, you know, at some point we just have to agree to something, and like if we choose the direction, let's just go with it, because honestly we can of course discuss this till the end of Earth, but you're right, let's focus on this like one perspective, let's have it in common, and let's just follow it. If we will start hitting some kind of walls or something with it, then we will start thinking about changing it. But from my perspective, it will be easier for usage that way at this point.
Okay.
That's it. questions? No questions. I don't even
No,
have
I don't have it.
chat again. So, all right then. Let's wrap up. I think we got it. I will push those later on today. I will check if everything is correct, and I won't make a pull request just yet because I will be cleaning up again a bit. Check if everything is.
Readers need to use the configuration, and yeah.
They are, but like I think I will change
I
the
mean,
naming and stuff because I don't really.
String.empty is probably not the best solution.
Exactly, that's true. I will change it right away. So yeah, that's it. But I don't really like the naming, but that's my problem. I will I will change it and yeah, but that's on me. So yep. But again, I will also probably move this code somewhere else because this is the parser extensions are in the SAGA parser JSON, and they should be probably in the core, the extensions for that. So yeah. Again, this is something that's why I said that I will do this off stream.
Or maybe dependency injection.
Or probably dependency injection for like a project or something like that. That's why I also have to think about this. But yeah, let's wrap up the stream at least. Thank you guys. Have a nice evening. I will show you the hand that I have here shown on the camera.